Hello pattern lovers, welcome to yet another exciting tutorial, and today's video will be a detailed tutorial on how to go about the drafting of this bustier corset top. So if that is what you want to learn, kindly watch this video to the very end and let's get right into it. So here I have my pattern paper ready and we'll be starting with the front part. I'll go ahead and measure from the top of the paper to my bust point of 10 inches, under bust of 13 and a half, waistline of 17 and a half, and then from the waistline I'm going to count to my hip line, which is 25 and a half. That's 8 inches from the waistline. I'll go ahead and mark it on this other end and then go ahead and rule it out. And after reading it out, I'll go ahead and label it bust point, under bust, waistline, and then the hip line. Now, I'll go ahead and get my shoulder measurement divided by 2, 15 divided by 2, 7 and a half. Then I'll go down to my chest line and I'm using 8 and a half. I'll mark the 7 and a half divided by 2 on this other end and mark the 8 and a half on this other end just to have a straight line. Then I'll connect it. Next, I'll just go ahead and take care of the upper part even though we will not be needing it. I'll get my standard neckline measurement of 3 inches by 3 inches and then 1 and a half for shoulder slope. Then I'm going to just mark it out this way. Next, I'll get the bust span and I'm using 3.75 for my bust span. I'll mark it on the bust point and mark it at the under bust. And then if you're not going for basque, go ahead and mark it on the length of the corset. Okay, or the hip line, but I'm going for basque, so I'll just mark it on the bust point and then the under bust. Next, I'll get the midpoint of the shoulder slope this way, then connect it from that point to the bust point, just like this. Then I'll come to the under bust and do the under bust tightening, and I want to use 2.2 inches to tighten the under bust. You can decide to share it equally on both sides of the bust span line, or you do the smaller part to the center front and the bigger part of the 2.2 to the side. Whichever way you want to do it, just go ahead and tighten your under bust. Then on the hip line, I'm going to go in by 1 and a half. That's just how wide I want the basque or the boning that will be going to that point. That's how wide I want it. Go ahead and determine how wide you want it, but this is supposed to be on the corset length. By the time I get the corset length, it's going to be like 2 or 2 and a half. But it's okay. The one on the thumbnail, they use 1 and a half. By the time you open it up, it's going to be 3 inches, and it has 3 other boning running in between the 3 inches. Okay, and I'm going to connect from the under bust tightening to the 1 and a half I have at the hem, and then I'm going to, you can decide to do the 2.2 you have at the under bust, or you just mark 2 inches on the hem this way. Then you're going to connect from the other that leg to the 2 inches, just like this. Now go ahead and blend in the under bust just so it's not sharp. If you can sew it well, you can decide to ignore this part. After that, I'll go ahead and get the over bust line. For corsets, I use 3 inches, but then I remember that this is a bustier. That part is going to be bustier, so I'm going up 3 and a half from the bust point line. Then I'm going to rule it out. This now will be the over bust line. And for the over bust tightening, I'll be using 0.75 on both sides of the that shoulder line that we have there. Then I'm going to connect from that 0.75 going to the bust point this way, and then I'll curve this other part to the bust point this way. Then after curving, I'll go ahead and through the darts. I'll just measure what I have on these dart legs, make sure I have the same thing on this other end, and then I'll mark the value. On that point, I'll make sure I have my 0.75 over bust tightening. Then I'll go ahead and redraw the curve there, and that's it. Now for the neck depth, I'll be coming up 1 inch from the bust point. You can decide to just leave it at the bust point, or you go down to how low you want your neckline to be. But I'm just coming up from the bust point 1 inch. Then I'm going to place my French curve this way and curve it. Next, I'll go ahead and take my bust measurement divided by 4 on the chest line. Then I'll measure the value I have from the dart intake and replace it here. I'll come to the waist and take the waist measurement divided by 4 plus the 2.2 we use for underbust tightening. I will replace it and do the same thing on the hip. The hip measurement divided by 4 plus the 2 inches dart intake. Then I'm going to basically connect the points just like this. Then I'll come to the chest line and come down by ½ inch. You can decide to do 0.75 or 1 inch depending on how low you want it to be on your armpit. Then I'll curve or freehand it from the other dart leg to the ½ inch just like this. And this is the point where you go ahead and add your bust dart, whatever you use for your bust dart, 1.5, 2 inches, 2.5, whatever you use for your bust dart. But I'm not going for bust dart for this particular tutorial. What I'll be showing you is how to go about the waist snatching in case you want to snatch your waist. I'm going to divide whatever you have here into 2 and mark it. Then you come to the hem this way and mark like 2 inches or the distance you want it from the other dart leg. And then you're going to connect it like this from the waist, the mark you have on the waist to the top, and then to these 2 inches you have on the hem. Now you're going to determine how much you want to snatch out of your waist. For me, I want to do 3 inches. I'm taking 0.25 from the side seam. Then on this part, I took out ½ inch. And that's a total of 0.75, which is 1.5 for the front. You can decide to take out this whole 0.75 from the side seam line, or you share it 0.375 on both sides of this snatching line. That's if you want to snatch 3 inches away from your waistline. If you want to do less, you're going to just calculate it how it's going to be for the front pattern and then the back pattern. While drafting the back, I will also be showing you another method you can use to snatch the waist. So for the front, I took out 1.5, and for the back, I'll also be taking out 1.5, which will make it 3 inches total out of the waist measurement. Okay. Now for the underbust bustier part, I'll be coming up 1.5 from the underbust this way on the center front. Then on the side, you can decide to do 1 inch, 1.25 or 1.5. But I'll be doing the same thing I did for the center front. Then I'm going to use my curves to connect it this way. 1.5 on the center front, and then 1.5 too on the side. Then for the neckline of the corset, you can decide to maintain the neckline you have for the bustier, or you come down how low you want it. For me, I'm doing 0.25 on the center, and also on the side I want it to just be on the same level. So from the curve I have on the side, I came down 0.25 too. Then I'm going to curve it this way. If you want it curvier, you can also come down 0.25 from the bust point and then connect from the side to that point on the bust point and to the center. But it's going to be like this. So having done with all of this, I'm now going to get the length of the corset. From the waistline on the side, I'm going to come down 3.5. You can do 4 inches or how long you want your corset to be. Then on the center, I'll be going down 5.5. That's like adding 2 inches from what I have on the side. Okay. Like I said, go ahead and do any corset length of choice and the one you're comfortable with. Then I'm going to use my curves to connect it this way. Next, I will take a fresh paper and slide it under the bustier part. Make sure it will contain all that you have there, and then you're going to trace it out. So I'll be using my tracing wheel to trace it all out. Then after that, I'll go ahead and use my pencil to mark it all out, or basically cut it out since there is no need marking it out. Okay. So later on, I will go ahead and cut out the bustier part, which I can see the traces even though you cannot see it, or better still, I'll use my pencil to highlight it. Then I'll go ahead and cut out the corset pattern. But then always remember to label your corset pattern so that you don't get confused. Especially with this kind of corset that the upper part and the down part is looking the same. You'll see that after cutting it. Just go ahead and label it anyhow. It will be easier for you to know the part going to the top and the part going to the down. And after cutting it out, this is what it looks like. You can see that you can hardly differentiate the upper part from the down part. Now for the back pattern, I'm simply going to start where the armhole of the front stops. That's 9 inches. Remember, my chest line is 8.5. Then I later on came down half inch from the 8.5, which is now 9 inches. And that's what I have here. That's where the back is going to start basically. Then I'll go ahead and get the half length of 17.5 and then the hip line of 25.5. I'll go ahead and mark all of them across, and it might be hard for you to know the part that is the up because, but you can see how I'm placing my measuring tape. That would help you know where the top part is. Now I'll go ahead and get the bust span line of 3.75. I'll mark it from the hip all the way to the top line. That's the bust line. Then I'll go ahead and roll it out this way. After that, I'll take in the dart of 0.75 on both sides of the bust span line this way. Then while connecting the dart, you're going to like give half-inch space on the upper part and also on the down part, just to help tighten those parts, just like this. It's as simple as that. Then I'll simply go ahead and label this so that you know the part going to the top and the part going to the down. We have the top line, waistline, and then the hip line. The next thing I'll do now is to go ahead and take the bust measurement divided by 4. On the waist, I'll take the waist measurement divided by 4 plus the 1.5 we used for that intake as that intake. Then on the hip, I'll then take the hip measurement divided by 4 plus the that intake I have there too. Then I'm going to connect the points just like this. Now, I promised to show you another way to tighten the waist. You're going to measure what you have from the second dart leg to the side seam line and divide it into 2. And then you're going to mark it, just roll it out straight from the measurement you have on the waist and that point, just straight like this. It's as simple as that. Then on both sides, I'm going to mark 0.25. That's half inch, 0.25 on both sides of the dart line or the snatching line. Then on the side, I'm going to also mark 0.25. So that's half inch on this part and then 0.25 on the side, which is 0.75 altogether. And that's 1.5 for the back too. Remember, we also did 1.5 for the front. So any of these methods works, either you do this one or you do the one I showed you on the front pattern. I have other corset tutorials on this channel which you can also see other methods of snatching the waist so that you choose the one that works so well for you. Next, on the waistline, just like we did for the front, I'm going to go down 3.5. I'm trying to make sure I have the same 3.5 on the front. Then I'll mark it on the side there. Then for this back, you don't have to make it basque if you don't want. You can just do the same length. So on the side I did 3.5 and on the center too I did 3.5. Like I said, you can decide not to make it basque, but if you want, you can do basque. Just go down to the length you want and then you connect it like that. Now to create a space for the lacing, I'll be taking out 2 inches on the top part this way. Then I'll come to the hip line and take out 1 inch. You can decide to do this 1 inch on the corset length or you just do it this way. Either you do 2 inches on the top, 1.5 on the waist, or you just do it this way. You can also place your curve this way or your ruler this way if your corset is going to get to your hip line. You don't have to take out too much on the hip part. Then for the neckline, I want to come down 2 inches from the 9 inches I already have there. That's 11 inches. Then I'm going to connect it from the side to that 2 inches with my curve, just like this. Then after that, I'll go ahead and bring back the pattern, the front side pattern, to make sure that what I have on the side of this back is the same. Then I cross check. You can see that I matched up the waistline of both the front and back. Then I marked where the armhole actually starts from the front. And that's it. So I'm going to label side back, middle back, and then the center back. I will also be marking the numbers. This is 4. We have 3 for the front, 5, 6. I like to label this way. and then I also indicate with my arrow. And now we are simply done with the corset pattern. It's time to cut it out. But then this side is looking like too sharp, so I'm going to blend it in with about 0.25 so that it won't gape at that point. Then you can also try to close in your dart this way so that you have the lines there equal, like they are aligned, so that by the time you're joining the fabrics you won't have shortage. Okay, close it just the same way you see me do it, and then you're going to redraw the curve that you have there, and then you're going to cut out every other part. And right after cutting it out, this is what the back pattern looks like. I went ahead to tape it down just to, like, I use the pattern to do a mock-up and I like what I see. So by the time you transfer this to your fabric and sew it, you can see that the waist is snatched, the bustier came out so well, everything on point. Like, it's just how it's supposed to be. So I can easily transfer this to my fabric with the confidence that it will come out so well. So go ahead and transfer your patterns to your fabric and happy sewing. And with that, we've come to the end of our tutorial today. Do let me know in the comments if you gained something, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.